Can one company deliver on a commitment to every person in Michigan? Count on it. Count on Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan to be there for our members and for everyone across Michigan. Every day, in every zip code, we're committed to our Michigan communities. At free clinics, offering help to those in need. At schools, teaching kids healthier habits. All over Michigan, we're making a difference because this is our home too. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Confidence comes with every card.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the first Weekly with Wheatley of 2024. I'm your host, Brady Beedon, and we'll be joined by head coach Tyrone Wheatley. Elijah Fowlkes will come on to us, Coach Antwon Robinson, and we'll talk with Coach Wheatley again at the end of the show. Real quick, before we get started, if you're looking for a cozy spot in Detroit with great vibes and even better food, come on down right here to Woodbridge Pub. Located in the heart of historic Woodbridge neighborhood, we're known for our delicious locally sourced menu and craft cocktails. It's the perfect spot for a casual night out or weekend fun. Whether you're relaxing on the patio, enjoying live music, or just catching up with friends, Woodbridge Pub is your go-to spot for a true Detroit experience. Stop by today and taste what makes Woodbridge Pub a local favorite. Coach, we've talked a little bit before some of the broadcasts, but for some people that haven't listened since then, let's start not quite at the Tiffin game. Let's go back a little further. Let's talk about this offseason because finally got your feet settled in, your first full offseason. I'll keep it simple. How was it? Did you feel you got what you needed to get done, corrected what you needed to get corrected in your first offseason?
Yes, we did. We brought in filled in some holes that we need to fill, offensive line-wise, defensive line. Brought in some younger guys that's going to help set the foundation, the culture and everything. But we did fill those holes. Quarterback, yes.
How important is that first offseason to really solidify just what your program wants to be about? Because you get in and you inherit a lot of kids, and a lot of that first season is evaluation. What was the approach going into this offseason? I know in college football nowadays with the transfer portal, life is way different than it was even 5 years ago. What's the approach for you and for Wayne State going into your first offseason and I guess every subsequent offseason going forward?
Well, you said it. First year was an evaluation. I mean, it was a total evaluation, not only just of players, but of the program, the area of recruiting, rebuilding, patching some relationships that hasn't been there, but also bridging out other relationships. So it was a total rebuild, evaluation, the whole works. So now when you get into that rebuilding process of it, is where do you start? Where do you start? Of course, you need to start where we were weakest, and I think that was the defensive line, and we filled those holes. Offensive line, and then we went out and got some more quarterbacks, some young guys and some older guys. And after that process, then you still can see where you still have some divots that you still need to replace. And it's an ever-going process.
I know you talked a lot last year about getting the right message across and getting the foundation, not just of the physical traits, because you need the dudes out on the field to play, but getting the right attitudes in the locker room, in the weight room, and getting everyone pulling in the same direction. Did you get the progress you wanted on that? Are you guys more aligned as a team now with the overall message and goals going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, when you talk about rebuilding some of these relationships with some of the high schools in the area, you reach out to these high schools with the good programs, not just winning football, but just when you talk about the culture of the programs. So when you bring those young men in, and I'm speaking the same language, it's almost a seamless transition from high school to college. And so now when you talk about culture, building those things, and certainly your locker room, it's way better now than it was last year. The players are starting to step up, and it's starting to become a player-led program. And so, therefore, I don't have to say much now. I can just lean back, and some of my younger and older guys are starting to now become the pillars of the program, and now they're speaking the same language, yes.
Having the continuity is always important. You bring back your coaching staff, every one of them. You have them all for year two. Again, just like for you, a lot of guys were adjusting. I mean, half your staff had never really even been to Detroit before. They were getting acclimated. From the staff point of view, do you feel like everyone's now on the same page? Everyone's settled in. Now they can focus more on football than getting everyone up here, learning a new city, and now it's all business, all about what goes on between the lines.
Absolutely. I think like anything else, time corrects a lot of things, right? And so, you have a couple of coaches who's never really been up north. They're Savannah boys, Georgia guys, right? They're getting used to the cold. Different type of football. You know, I call it the little Big Ten. I mean, it's physical, up front, big football, where they're used to the more speed, the heat, and wide open, spread out football. So once you get there, like I say, once the time is passed, everyone's settled in, and now we can get a chance to see what it is we really need to accomplish and move forward towards that direction.
Well, we kicked off last Thursday against Tiffin. A lot to improve on, to put it mildly. I mean, there was some good to get out of it. There always is, but there were some hiccups along the way. When you sat back and you turned on the tape of Tiffin, what did you guys take out of it? I'm sure there's a lot of coaching points. Where are you moving forward after week one?
Well, of course, after, like I say, once you watch the film, it's never as bad as you think it is, and it's never as good as. But the one thing we got to do is clean up some penalties, right? And I think that was a tribute to, like, the first game, a lot of jitters, a lot of guys ready to get out there. And as you know, you want to hit a different color jersey.
Absolutely.
You get tired of hitting the same people, seeing the same people, but you want to get out there, and you want to hit different coverage up. But the one thing I will say, and we take away, positives, is they never stopped playing. They kept playing, and they played hard throughout the entire game. The intensity never stopped, and it kept going. Even when we fell behind, they just kept going, and you could build on that. But once again, not the type of product you want to put out there and not the penalties that you want, but at the end of the day, you can build on those things. You can get better. So you take away the penalties, right? And then once again, turnovers. Can't turn the ball over. Definitely can't turn the ball over. And once again, that goes to now just trying to do too much, and we're just trying to tell the guys, just do your job, stay basic, and do your job.
One thing you said to me earlier in the week when we were talking is a change from last year's. The guys were ready to get into the film. They had a bad taste in their mouth, and they either wanted to get corrected or wanted to learn how to correct some things that they had already noticed before you sat down and film. How much does that help taking a big leap forward going into week two, that the kids are anxious and they're ready to try and get better on their own before you guys even sit down and talk with them the next day?
Once again, total difference than last year. Last year was kind of one of the scenarios was we played hard, we lost, whoa, here we go again. As opposed to this year, the guys were waiting. I think, like I told you, they were waiting on us, the coaches, to get in the film room. They were more anxious. They were ready to be corrected. They wanted to understand and hear what went wrong as opposed to, oh, here we go again. And that right there, it's impressive and it's exciting because you can build on that. You can grow and you can go from that point forward. And I think that was one of the big steps forward that we can take in this program.
You mentioned some positives. I thought the defense played pretty well in week one. They were putting some tough binds. I mean, you can only ask them to do so much. Who were some guys that, or some things you saw as a team that jumped out when you watched it on film? You said, you know what, it didn't go our way, but we can work with this. We can build on this. This is a foundation piece here in week one.
Well, the guy you're going to talk to a little later, Elijah Fowlkes played a great game. Caleb Coleman, great addition. Transfer came in, played a great game. Carl Ware played awesome. Defensive line as a collective, they played really well. Offensively, you go on that side, you look at the catch. I mean, it was nullified by the penalty, but you look at the catch Tuggle made, man. That was
absolutely.
That was probably one of the top 10 catches I've seen, either pro, high school, whatever. That was a top 10 catch. But we didn't have that element last year. Now we have it. And so, but when you look at it overall, it was a good game.
Yeah, obviously a lot to build on. Findlay's coming in this week. We'll talk about that a little later. But hopefully, old cliche, biggest improvement from week one to week two. Hoping to see that big improvement for the home crown at Town Adams Field. Absolutely,
and then we will get it done.
Well, we'll talk to Coach Wheatley again in a bit, as we'll let him step aside, enjoy Woodbridge Pub, and we'll bring on one of his assistants, Coach Antwon Robinson, here in a minute when we come back with Weekly with Wheatley. Now we are joined by Wayne State D coordinator Antwon Robinson here, helping us out with defensive backs coach here, Antwon Robinson, as we get ready for week two. Let's talk about week one in the offseason. I mean, you're the senior member of this coaching staff. You've been around Wayne State a long time. I know last year had to take the bumps, had to find the improvements, but what do you think of the offseason? Did you get accomplished what you wanted to? I know we talked to Coach Wheatley about it. How did that go, and are you happy with where you're at going into week two?
Oh, man, excited. The biggest thing is that Coach did mention was time on task. Right, this offseason was the first time that Wayne State where we actually got to use the indoor field throughout the duration of winter conditioning. Then we got some new guys in that they hit the ground running, returned some old guys back to the program. So, yeah, everything's looking good right now.
How important is that to just get some more time on a field? I mean, hey, a gym's great. You can run, you can test the toughness, but the actual football knowledge and instilling with a brand new staff and especially with transfers coming in, hey, they haven't been in the system learning for 2 years before they get trotted out there. They have to learn kind of with a fire drill. How important is that to get people in football situations doing football things in the offseason?
Oh, that's very important. The biggest thing is, no injuries because
Yes.
now we're actually on the turf field.
Yes.
We're always working tasks or we're working individual drills. So that's always important. Getting our scheme installed, with this being our second year together as a staff, it was important to get our scheme fully installed this offseason.
So with the transfer portal, I know you played, wasn't really a thing. When you started coaching, wasn't really a thing. Now for some coaches, it's everything. For some programs, it's the lifeblood. How, from your perspective, with the DBs, with special teams, how do you like to approach the transfer portal? Because I know you look at some programs, they'll bring in a ton. You look at some, they will be very picky and be selective. Where do you see the transfer portal being a useful thing for you and your guys?
So the biggest thing is, right, we're going to always be a grassroots program, right? We're going to always go the high school route. The biggest thing is we want to bring guys back home. Mm-hmm. So we always have these prior relationships with these guys once they get in the portal, and then we bring them back home.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the guys you have, the DBs, specialists, because, well, we're going to talk to some later. You have some dudes coming back. You have some talent coming back. Walk through some of those guys for you because, we saw some pretty good ones show out in week 1.
So 24 of those guys in the secondary, and then 5 specialists.
Yeah.
Right now, just got elected captain Elijah Fowlkes, right? Obviously, he's a 3-year starter for us. He's coming back, had a big game. Brought in Caleb Coleman as a transfer who previously played for Coach Wheatley back in Morgan State. He also had led the team in tackles. Brady Beedon, who's been here the duration that I've been here. He's healthy right now. He's our starting boundary safety, second in the team in tackles. Well, Anthony Walk, who was the defensive freshman of the year last year. So Anthony is really taking strides and stepping up being a leader. Brought in 2 transfers, Clifton Buchanan, 6'2", 200-pound kid, plays corner and safety. Jonathan Tillman, who had an interception in the end zone. We got to teach him to go down in the end zone,
right,
not return it. But he's been big for us. Keywan Houston stepping up and being big. And then we also got numerous young guys that's stepping up and playing.
So the game down at Tiffin obviously didn't get the final result you wanted, but I thought the defense did a lot of things well. You were put in some tough spots, and the one thing, like Coach Wheatley said, didn't feel like, or at least from the booth, didn't look like anyone was hanging their head, getting upset that they had to go back out there again at times, that they just said, all right, buckle the chin strap up, go out and work. Like you said, pick in the end zone. A couple big plays, but I thought overall the defense had a lot to gain from that first game.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, like you said, nobody got their heads down, right? Because we're always in the game. We always feel like, hey, we're one play away. We started off early, getting early turnovers, but we also had some turnovers throughout the game. And that was big for us. Really we didn't feel like we was losing field position. We felt like we matched up pretty well with them. Like you said, not the end result we wanted, but we still played pretty well.
Because a lot of 3 of their touchdowns were really just big plays, and while you never want to give up the big explosive play, it's almost better than if it's 5 yards, 6 yards, and they march on a 17-play drive, and you can't, and just they're getting whatever they want. Again, some of those are, I'm sure you're going to say, missed tackles, things like that, down the football, but hopefully room to improve in week 2.
Yeah, missed opportunities. That's the biggest thing that we say. Missed opportunities or mental errors. So those are big things that we've been harping on all week. We ramped up practice a little bit, so we'll be prepared this week.
Ask you just a little bit about Findlay from your perspective, their skill position guys. Listen, everyone I've talked to, whether it's you, Coach Wheatley, any of the offensive staff, this team is going to play hard. That you better buckle up your chin strap, bring your lunch pail, because this Findlay team, they don't take a play off. They might not have the most physically imposing guys at every single position, but they're sure going to play like it.
They're going to play with technique. That's the biggest thing. I've been picking up some of Coach Wheatley's buzzwords, so they're going to play with technique. That's what we consider playing hard right now. We know they're going to play hard. They're going to run the ball. They got some transfers, and they're going to try to throw the ball around the field. So it's not the same old Findlay that we're used to seeing, but you know what? It's not the same old Wayne State either.
How important is it that these early games, listen, it's no secret that not just this year and last year, but for a while, Wayne State has always had a gauntlet of a schedule. There's not many free spaces at the middle of that bingo card. get these games in early. I mean, Tiffin, undefeated in the regular season last year. Findlay, supposed to be in the mix for the GMAC title this year. How important is it to test yourselves against these top-tier teams so you know right exactly where you're at?
It's important to be battle tested, right? Because by the time we get to GLIAC play, right, you got your 4 out-of-conference games. By the time you get to GLIAC play, you want to be hitting on all cylinders. So it's very important to get those in early. It's a measuring stick, right, to see where we at in the offseason. Week 1 and week 2 is going to be the biggest jump. We want to be prepared for conference play.
Who should we be looking out for this Saturday when home opener from your DBs? Who you're hoping to have a big game, maybe specialists too, because those guys can swing a game just as quickly.
All of them. Anybody that's going to play. Obviously, Griffin Milibansky, we expect for him to kick the ball, be efficient. Hang time on kickoffs, kick it out the back of the end zone, field goals. PATs, we expect for him to be perfect, right? Nico Davis, perfect with the snaps. In the secondary, all those guys. Especially the way this week has been a tough one. It's been a tough one, just getting those guys ready to go.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. Good luck when you kick off in the home opener on Saturday against Findlay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now we are joined by Wayne State junior DB Elijah Fowlkes. Elijah, we were talking right before we started recording, and I just want you're a senior, right? Because you've been around forever, and it feels like you've played in every Wayne State game in the last 7 years. But no, it's only your junior year. You still got one more go around with this team, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do. It feels good. Like I actually retired, but it feels good to be back.
So let's talk about the process, how you got to Wayne State, why you came to Wayne State, and why you stayed here in Midtown Detroit. Just walk us through how Elijah Fowlkes ended up right here on Weekly with Wheatley.
I got here in 2022 after I graduated. This was one of a couple offers. I was here with Coach Winters. He was the one who brought me in. Then Coach Wheatley came last year. It was different. He's a different type of guy.
Right.
It was different. But after being with him for a full year and being with him now, I've adjusted to the type of guy he is, and it feels good. Like he's somebody who wants to win. Like he's a winner, and that's where I come from. So it's definitely a good adjustment.
Do you feel like not just yourself, but the rest of your teammates have settled into what's expected? Because the first year, hey, whether you're a senior, whether you're a freshman, everything's brand new to you. You don't really know what to expect because once you get used to a coach, you go, okay, this is what I expected. I can kind of mentally prepare for what's coming up. Now that you've had a full year under Coach Wheatley and his staff, have you figured out kind of what's needed and the guys are learning and growing because of it?
Yes, I definitely know what he wants and what needs to be done to be a winning team. He emphasizes it every day. It's like part of our pillars. Like he talk about it every meeting, every time we come in the locker room, we know what needs to be done. And I feel like the team is starting to understand that more and more as we go. I feel like it was drilled in us all summer, and now we are pretty much coming along. Everybody's coming along slowly but surely. I feel like we have most of the team that's bought in.
Well, let's talk about those pillars. What are they, and what do they mean to Wayne State football?
Availability, dependability, and it's always the third one that I lost. I know availability and dependability. Those are the main ones. That third one is always a struggle for me, but always accountability.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
he'll keep you accountable.
They definitely see. There we go. But always be available. Like being available is so important because if you're not available, you're not important to the team. Like you got to be available to be here, and being dependable. We got to be able to depend on the guys in the game. Got to be able to depend on the coaches. Got to be able to depend on each other to be a winning team, a good program. And accountability. You got to be able to take accountability for what you did wrong or what somebody else did wrong. Got to be accountable.
So coming in after week one obviously didn't go the way you guys were hoping for, but Coach Wheatley, heard him talk about you guys were ready and eager to get back in the film room to improve. What was it about week one that was it just you felt you had a couple missed opportunities at times, felt like you could have gotten back into that game? Was it just you're playing a really good team and you knew you were close and at times maybe let them off the hook a little bit?
It was knowing the preparation we put in, and then coming out there like the first drive we had a turnover first drive. So
right.
We know how we were coming the whole game. We just had to we didn't execute every time we had the chance. I feel like that's something big. But we don't stop. We're warriors. Like our coach was just talking about it. We're warriors. No matter what's going on, we just keep pushing. So I feel like that's real important. We were just a couple plays away. And I feel like that's always the problem here. But now, with the guys we have now, we want to fix those problems. We got on a bus and was talking about how we could fix it right away. Like we talked about how it's a new offense, so our defense got to be able to pick those guys up. Like we've been together a little time, and we know we got to be the core. So we got to pick those up so our offense is ready to bring us along.
Well, let's take a little detour from football. Talk about the lifestyle and the academic side of Wayne State. What drew you here? And what do you like about living in Midtown Detroit? What's it been like off the field for Elijah Fowlkes?
Honestly, I don't do anything. I stay in the house. If I'm not working out, I'll pretty much just stay in and I hang with the guys. That's about it.
It's all football for you?
Yeah, it's all football. That's why I'm here. I came to Detroit for football. That was it.
I know Coach Wheatley likes to hear that, but Elijah, tell us a little bit. What are you studying, and when football does end one day, where do you want to find yourself working? I guess in the real world.
I'm a sports management major. I want to be a player manager, and right now, me and my cousin, he's a football player also. We're starting a company called Change the Narrative, where we're trying to help shape young kids' lives. So I want to work on that. Have a company. Change the Narrative, called Change the Narrative.
That's awesome to hear. How much of that does it help, though, that you're in Detroit? You can make some connections with people down here. I know Wayne State Sports Management, a lot of ties to even just the local pro teams. Does that help a lot being here in Midtown to kind of kickstart or jumpstart that Change the Narrative plan?
Yes, it does. The connections I've learned that's a big part of this business, the sports business. Making connections, and like my professor, he worked with a couple teams, so like my professors, my coaches, and people I just meet around, like being in Detroit in the city, you meet a lot of people that have good connections.
That's awesome, Elijah. I can't wait to see where that goes in the future. Last question for you. I'll keep it something simple. What is the identity going to be in 2-3 months of the 2024 Wayne State Warrior football team?
You're going to remember us, I promise. You're going to remember this team. This is going to be the team that turns Wayne State around. I feel like we have the guys, we have the coaching staff, we have what it takes to turn Wayne State around. Last week was not who we're going to be. That's just not who we're going to be. You're going to see us next week, and you're going to see a different Wayne State.
Elijah, I appreciate it. Did a great job. Good luck Saturday. Stay healthy and hit someone hard.
Thank you.
Warrior fans, with the inaugural Wayne State University Athletics Champion Classic being such a success this past July, we're going to run it back. The second annual Champions Classic will be held on Monday, July 28th of 2025 at TPC Michigan in nearby Dearborn. Again, that'll be held on July 28th, 2025 at TPC Michigan in Dearborn for the second annual Wayne State University Athletics Champions Classic. Though, Coach Wheatley, we've kind of looked back at the offseason. We've looked at week one. Let's turn our attention to week two. We talked about a little bit with Coach Robinson. This is going to be a very physical team. They play well. You can tell they're a well-coached team. Tell us a little bit about the Findlay Oilers.
Well, like you said, strap your buckets up, man, because these guys coming to town. And like I said, Coach has been there for over 19 years, 4 at the helm as the head coach. They've had this team really prepared for many years. I mean, this team has been together and just reload, right? They don't rebuild, they just reload. And up front defensively, let's start with the defensive line. Like you say, not a very big group identity-wise, but they play big. They play fast. They get to their spots in a hurry. They're technicians in what they do. The linebackers hit gaps. They are gap sound. And on the back end, this team just overall defensively is very sound. Then you take off to the offensive side of the ball. You have, and your offensive linemen, these guys, they're ornery group. I mean, they're going to take the shots, clean shots, nothing dirty, but they're going to take the shots at you. They're going to move you begrudgingly. They will move you off the landmark. And this running back, he runs with some green fury. Like, he runs angry. receiving core, the guys are coming back. It's really, on the offensive side, they're senior-laden and their experience, and they're going to lean on their experience. And so, in all honesty, this program is, when we talk about week to week, this is probably going to be one of the toughest teams we face, and they're a hell of a team.
Is it kind of it's a good litmus test for you guys because you're going to be challenged physically. You know the old saying, you only got to plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, Findlay's going to come up, and they're going to try to punch you in the mouth multiple times, repeatedly. So is this a good chance to see how the kids or how the young men may respond to a little bit of adversity when they come up and see who's ready to stick their nose back to the grindstone and get in those dirty areas?
Absolutely. But I have to say this before I answer that question. When you're rebuilding a program, and this is a true testament to Findlay, right? But this is where you want your program to get, this is where you want your program to grow to in the later years. And so when you get there, you have to go, like you're talking about, get punched in the mouth, right? How do you respond? How do you counter? How do you come back? We'll throw our own punches, and we're going to go back and forth. It's going to be a contest of wills, right? But at the end of the day, we have to face the adversity, and we have to grow through the adversity. And that's one thing I don't think people understand in these programs. You have to grow through the adversity. And this team is going to bring the adversity. And one thing I'm teaching the young man now is, right, don't waste the adversity. You welcome the adversity, and that's where you grow.
Well, one nice thing about this game is it is just across the street in the friendly confines of Tom Adams Field. Don't have to go down to Ohio. They have to come up to Detroit. How exciting is it just week one? You're getting the home crowd. There's that buzz in the air. Hopefully another great crowd over at the stadium. How much does this help being at home and in front of the green and gold?
Like she said, there's no place like home, right? There's no place like playing in front of your home crowd, getting that atmosphere going, the team behind you, that 12th man. That's what we're trying to build as well. So not only are you trying to build the team, you're trying to build home equity. You're trying to build the equity in your fans and the people coming out wanting to see and have the experience.
Right.
And so that it all works. It all helps in your favor. So that's one of the biggest things we also play for is our home. Like it's the old saying, you got to protect your house, right? You have to protect home. And that's what we're going to do. And we have a hostile coming in.
So a lot of room for improvement after week one. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Where do you need to take a step up if you want to be victorious, if you want to be in the game on Saturday? Where are a few things? I know turnovers are one, but where else do you guys need to maybe make that next step to hang with Findlay?
Sustain drives. You must sustain drives. With a team like this that can score at will, we must sustain drives to keep our defense off the field. Convert on third downs, right? So you sustain drives, convert on third down, and stay out of second and long.
And I know part of it, we mentioned turnovers, but you had our special teams coordinator, Coach Robinson, on. Even just being able to punt when you need to, switch the field position, that can make a big difference rather than turning the ball over 4 or 5 times. Gives your defense a little room back or a little more room behind them. And you've got some pretty good kickers on your team. You got some
Absolutely.
pretty good specialists that can change the game a little bit.
Yeah, speaking of Jeremy, he did an incredible job, punting the ball last week. But you're right, and that's what I'm saying. Convert on third down, stay out of second and long. However, anytime you can end a series in a kick, whether it be field goal or a punt, you're doing pretty well. And like you say, do not turn the ball over.
Let's talk from the defensive side. I know this offense is pretty prolific. They do a lot of things well. Defensively, what do you need to see from your Warriors if you want to keep Findlay off the scoreboard?
Down the ball, right? What I mean by down the ball, we have to tackle. We had, I'm going to say Findlay, we had Tiffin last week in the backfield several times. We just didn't get the guy down. They had a couple of explosive plays where we had him stop at a 5-yard or maybe a 4-yard gain. We didn't tackle him. So we must down the ball and eliminate the explosive. But at the same time, offense needs to play a little defense in that part as well by keeping our defense off the field for so long.
Question maybe not just about Findlay, but more football as a whole. You mentioned, hey, we had a few times we could have downed him in the backfield, had a few reads maybe offensively we didn't make or penalties that took it back. When you look at it in one regard, you can say we were close. We just have a few mistakes we need to clean up. But on the other hand, if you want to play devil's advocate, you can say, well, that's what the great teams do. They don't make those mistakes, and it takes a long way to make up a small difference. What is it with that? Is it you're that close, or do you still have a few long steps to take?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both, right? I think we're that close, but also we have a long way to go. And it goes back to the very first statement that I said. a lot of these young guys, we don't have a lot of production, meaning a lot of guys that playing right now, they didn't play a lot last year.
Right.
And we don't have a lot of production. So when you get a young man out there, everybody wants to make a play, right? I'm trying to make a play, get overzealous. And so when you overshoot your target, you're doing too much, you don't down the ball. You don't track the inside hip, you overrun it because you're running up top. It's like golf. When you try and kill that little golf ball, it doesn't go where it needs to go. Just easy, nice stroke and swing, and you'll place it where it needs to go, right? And that's the analogy I'm using with these young guys. They're trying so hard, and they're still coming up short. So, yes, we are so close, but once they understand, if I just do my technique and do exactly what I'm told and do my job, and understanding doing my job is making a play.
So home opener, emotions are going to be high. It's an exciting time, but you mentioned sometimes the emotions can get too high, and whether that may result in a penalty or just the guy being over-eager and too excited to make a play. How do you get the guys ready to go, excited, home opener, home crowd, but you don't make it too exciting and you keep that heart rate low at a level where, hey, you can go out there and you can still make the play?
I'm going to just go back to the old track analogy when I used to run track. I'm confident in my training. I worked my butt off. I don't care who I'm running against. It's just me. So now when I'm in the blocks, I can care less who I'm running against. My heart rate's down. I'm calm because I trust my technique. I trust my work. And I think that's the maturity as to where they have to grow into it.
Well, Coach, final thing. I'll give you an open forum. What do you want to say to the Wayne State fans going into week 1 and hopefully a lot of green and gold up in those stands on Saturday?
Well, as usual, we appreciate them coming out, always the support. We would love to have them out and be ready to chill out.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday against Findlay. A 1 p.m. kick at Tom Adams Field. Hope to see you out there. If not, we'll be back with another edition of Weekly with Wheatley live from Woodbridge Pub. It'll be next Wednesday at 5:30. Coach Tyrone Wheatley, I've been Brady Beedon. Thank you so much for listening.
Michigan First Credit Union is a proud sponsor of Wayne State Athletics. With a custom-built mobile app and 2 branches and 10 ATMs located on or near campus, Michigan First makes banking easy and convenient. And we're proud to serve our communities all across Metro Detroit. Michigan First. Experience banking undefined. For details, visit MichiganFirst.com. Go Warriors!